right? We'll call the February 2nd, 2021 Budget Subcommittee meeting of the Library Board of Trustees to order.
Okay, so I apologize for typing. I'm just making sure streaming's all set. All right, so we just have one agenda item, which is the fiscal year 22 budget. We had gone over this back in November, and I did have a couple of updates to this budget. I just wanted to make sure that, it was something that we are comfortable putting forth to the budget committee and, well, prior to that, to our full board. So a few updates, and I'm wondering, would you like me to put the draft up on the share my screen with the draft, or do you have it up in front of you?
I have mine up in front of me, so it's completely up to you, whatever is easier for you.
I printed mine out, so I'm okay.
Okay, great. Sounds good. So I'll go right down the summary that I prepared for you. So first and foremost, probably one of our very unruly budget lines this year was electricity. I think that we may want to adjust that up just a little bit higher for fiscal year 22. I think that 37,500 is going to be a bit more of an accurate estimate than the original 35,000 that we had talked about in November. I've been hearing about National Grid's increases, and as much as we may not want that increase, it's really up to them. So I think that with looking at our usage and those rate increases, that is a more accurate estimate. I also made sure to reach out to GM Refrigeration, because I think part of this issue that we've had with the increased usage has to do with the control system, and they are working on a proposal as we speak for the replacement of that system. So it's in the works. I actually just sent them some of our HVAC closeout documents today to really get a good idea of what that system's going to entail. So thoughts, questions on electricity?
What kind of rate increase have you heard bandied about?
I think I heard something as high as 7%. I believe that I'm really hoping that's not the case. That would be pretty substantial, but the one that I recently saw from the Providence Journal back in October, actually, it was a cumulative increase of 7.3%, and it would remain in place until October 31st. And I think the state had approved it. So that is not on our side.
Right.
Okay.
I have a general question.
Yes.
Okay, I'm looking at the budget. What I did was a while back, I had Karen send me the monthly expense reports, and I downloaded them to Excel because I'm used to seeing what I call an expense trend, where I look at each month, and there's a little bit of an inconsistency in how the budget's constructed versus how the expenses are reported. For instance, electricity is budgeted separately, but if I look at the actual expenses, it's lumped into water and fuel. If I were someone from the outside looking at this, trying to figure out what the library's expenses are, I would be a little bit confused. I'm wondering if in the future, not now, going forward, when we do the budget, we actually show the lines that compared to how we show the actual expenses, because I have a feeling, I agree with you, I can't see it if I look at the monthly expenses, but I think electricity should be higher than what we've budgeted.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't see that because the 6 months are all lumped together with water and fuel.
Yes.
I've got unfortunately, I haven't been working for 4 years, but I still have my work hat on, and looking at this, it takes me back to what I used to do, and there's a little bit of an inconsistency. So I can't really see the whole picture, but what I can see, it looks like electricity probably should be even budgeted higher than what you have. Not a criticism, it's just reality.
Yes, yes, I agree. And I can definitely have those broken out on the reports. That is, I think, a setting in QuickBooks, and I can talk to Karen about that. I can even start that. I can see if we can do that for the next regular meeting.
Yeah, that might be a little more help, only because electricity is such a big problem. I think it might be helpful to everyone to see what that really looks like on a month-to-month basis.
I think so too. And that's a great idea. We can definitely do that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And I'm really hoping that this new control system will give us a bit more flexibility with how we schedule things. And that has been something I've expressed to GM. So it is my hope that if we are able to really get in there and make some adjustments to our overall building settings, then I would really love to see that number go down. So, okay. So I will move on. Would you like me to go through the lines that I had kept the same, or just highlight the ones that I had made adjustments to?
I'm happy with just hearing about the ones that were.
Yeah, because we had looked at the budget and it didn't really change that much. It's pretty similar. So just whatever, I'm sure you had some updated information, so you must have had to make some changes.
Yes, heat I'm gonna is the next line. So that is also in my summary. I think that 18,000 is a good estimate. But if we wanted to err on the side of caution, if we have a really cold winter next year, I think 18,500 would be more sufficient. So I was able to adjust that there. So I do think that is something that I would recommend for next year. And we have already built a 6% price increase in for propane, just in case. And our price per gallon is still right around where we are for oil. But I think just a little bit of extra cushion will be a good thing there. I'll move down to contracts if there's no questions on heat.
Contracts was the good news.
Yes. Contracts, great news. As you know, Kyle Souza is our new technology coordinator. So he spearheaded this effort to take our self-check machines, and the previous company who we had that contract through, it was also a service contract, but there was very little service that we needed, and the service that could happen is something that he is able to do. So we have switched the software in those machines, so it looks a little different now. Our patrons are still able to check out just as they were. All the functions are the same. But we have some good news as far as the utilities go. We were able to save on the contract for the self-check machines going forward, and that will be forever and ever until things change. So very, very good move there with contracts, and that's where we were able to get the utilities money for. So we are right at $19,075 for that line. Okay, moving on. So our big question here is salaries. So you can see that on the salaries tab, I've broken out each individual position. What a 2% increase would look like if they are eligible for that in fiscal year 22, and have really sort of built the salaries line around that data there. The update to this line came with the minimum wage. So in October 2021, the minimum wage will go up to $12.25. So this is going to affect our library pages who are currently at $11.50 per hour. And if you'll remember, we actually don't have library pages right now. So we don't actually have anyone making that rate, but it will impact them should we hire them. And this will also impact our on-call library assistants because they are currently at $12 per hour. I do not want to put both of those positions at a minimum wage rate. The library pages would be at the $12.25 of minimum wage, but on-call library assistants definitely do more than our library pages. And so we're probably looking at what could seem like a substantial increase for that on-call library assistant rate, but as long as I have been here, there has not been an increase in that line for on-call library assistants. It has been $12 consistently over the past 3, perhaps 4 years at this point. So I think we are very much due for a comparable analysis for that position with other libraries like ours to see where that rate would be. I'm going to estimate right now that it would be around the $13 range. But what I will do is the OLS statistics for wages of fiscal year 20 should be out within the next couple of weeks. So once I can see those, I can build a comparable analysis for the personnel committee and subcommittee, and I can present that to them so we would have a good idea. Why this salaries line stayed the same despite putting those at minimum wage or a little bit above minimum wage was because I took down our on-call library assistant hours. Looking at how things are trending with the pandemic, I do not see us needing as many on-call hours as we have in like a normal year. I don't think we're going to be back to a normal year yet. So I was able to drop our on-call hours down by 150 hours per year. So we typically use around 12, I'm sorry, we typically use around 1,200 on-call hours in a normal year. So I'm estimating more around 1,050. I think that is going to be a good estimate. So our salary line stayed the same. There's just a few more behind the scenes things that have come up over the past couple of months. Any questions there?
No, that sounds reasonable. It is hard to project out a month, let alone out like 6 months at this point in terms of even this summer. I know you tend to use on-call help more during the summer. Are we going to be running in-person summer programs?
I do not think so.
From where we sit today, it looks like probably not.
Exactly.
So, but it is all just kind of guessing.
It really is. And I don't think I've ever wished for a crystal ball more than I have over the past year or so. But that's just not the case. Yeah. We have plenty of books, no crystal balls in the library. But one of the things, the bottom line of this budget is that we have about a $415 deficit with that 2% request to the town. So I am okay with that deficit, mostly because, as you know, I run a very, very lean payroll. It is at the bare minimum that it can be at. There is, no wiggle room. If we have, 2 hours of desk time that we need to fill, I'm going to ask a staff member who's already here. I'm not going to call somebody in for, minimum 3 hours. So I think that we'll be able to make up a little bit of that in payroll. And just depending on if we're not traveling for staff development, things like that. So there is, again, that crystal ball that we all wish we had. But I think that deficit is manageable. And those are the updates that I have for now. We never know. I could have some additional ones on Monday night, but I wanted to make sure that we had this meeting so I could run all of this past you all so that you could recommend it to the board come Monday's meeting.
All seems very reasonable to me. It's, as you said, it's a work in progress. It's our best projections on this day at this hour, and that's all we can go by. But right now, it seems very serviceable.
Yeah, it does. I just have a couple of questions. On the revenue side, grant and aid, we're showing, I think, the same amount as the current year. Now, do we have any insight as to whether or not the state is going to increase it? Or I know the state is running a deficit, so the likelihood of that is probably slim and none. But I'm guessing that's probably the best we're going to be looking at in terms of the amount we're getting from the state.
Yes, and I can sort of foresee what's going to happen this year. I do believe that the pool that everybody pulls from will be flat funded probably again, as it was from 2020 to 2021. It will probably be flat funded again. So the grant and aid figure, I would say, is a placeholder, one of those best guesses for right now. In past years, normal years, of course, we have an estimate of that grant and aid for the year already by now, but just because things are still up in the air, and as you all know, we're still going to be voting on bond referendums in March. The state budget is still very much up in the air. So if I hear any news, I will definitely update that, and we'll see what happens.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And just a quick note that our grant and aid is also tied to the funding amount that the town gives us. So I believe it's a percentage of the average of the last 2 years. So because we've been flat funded for 2 years now, it probably will not move much from that figure.
Just a question. It's a small amount of money, but I just figured I'd ask. The
Sure.
office and library supplies.
Mhm.
I noticed I signed off on an invoice for the annual magazine subscriptions. Does that get thrown into that line?
That is
Is that-
from our collection budget.
Oh, okay. So it's the materials?
Yes.
Okay. All
Yep.
right. Got it.
So in that materials line, we have books, DVDs, audiobooks, any sort of circulating
Newspapers?
Yep.
Newspaper. Okay. All right.
newspapers.
My
Exactly.
mistake. Okay. I'm good.
Great.
That seems reasonable.
I think so. Yes. And Sandy, that was actually a new company that we went with this year. We have sort of tried them all at this point, and I was ready for a very competent company. So
Do they off? Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Sorry.
I'm just curious, who's the new vendor? Because I've worked with some in my own professional capacity.
the new vendor is Revistas, and they came recommended to me by a couple of other public libraries.
Okay, good to know.
Do they offer a better selection?
So no, most companies offer the same selection, same prices. It's sort of the behind the scenes things that we look for. So the company that we have now does not have an online portal for us to check in items. So when we get magazines here at the library, typically what we should be doing is going in and technically checking them in on that website portal, so that if an issue does not come, then the company itself will catch it. But we've been having to catch that for a little while. And so I think this is just going to streamline things a little bit more, and technology will help us there. So.
Okay.
So that's what I have for our fiscal year 22 draft. And any other questions, thoughts?
When
goals?
do you, when are we scheduled, the library scheduled to appear before the budget committee?
I have not heard yet. I just watched the last budget committee meeting, and it looks like they're doing a few other departments this week. So I would suggest, as far as scheduling goes, that we could discuss it offline, like days that we're all available, and we could recommend that to the budget committee.
Do they, are they waiting for the walkthrough before they review the budget, or are they gonna do a walkthrough after? I would make more sense if they did their walkthrough before they actually looked at the budget.
Yes, the past couple of years, they have done their walkthrough prior to us going to meet with them. So I will see when they're thinking about scheduling that. I'll get in touch with the town administrator, since he recommends when departments go. And I'll throw a couple dates out there for him.
Should all of the trustees be there, or is that how it, yeah, okay.
Yep, we've done that in the past year, and actually, because it usually starts, I think it started at 9 a.m. the past couple of years, or 2 years ago, it was at 9 a.m. and then they had a site visit before us last year, so it was around like 10:30, I want to say. But the year we knew it was at 9, we actually opened the library a little bit early so that patrons could use the library, patrons could come on the tour as well. We've had actually a pretty good crowd the past couple of years.
As a matter of fact, I think I attended the first one this year. I think I was a member for about a month. I think, yes,
Yep.
I recall that now. Yep.
Yes, so I think it's a great option for folks to come in and see. This year might be a little bit different, just with occupancy limits and social distancing, but I am up for the challenge of making sure everybody stays 6 feet away from each other. I'll definitely follow up with Chris Cotta, the town administrator, on dates. Okay.
All right, well, if we have covered everything we need to, I think we can adjourn the meeting. And then we will discuss this with the full board on our Monday meeting, the February 8th.
That's
Right.
great.
Okay,
Okay.
sounds good. See you then.
See you then. Thank you both.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.